This is a quick tutorial on how to make an amigurumi crochet line. I want to give credit to Sharon Alaha, who is the author of the pattern that I used in order to make this line. Without it, I would not know exactly how to make the pattern. Things you're going to need to know from this pattern are single crochet, making a magic ring, increasing, decreasing stitches, and a lot of patience. The things we're going to need to be able to make the line are, starting from the top right, are fiber filling stuffing, cotton yarn in yellow, brown, and black, a bobby pin, a bent tapestry needle, a pair of safety eyes, a crochet hook, a latch hook, a fringe maker, and a pair of scissors. Here we go. I start with making a magic ring, which is a way to begin crocheting in the round over an adjustable loop and then pulling tight, as in the second picture over. I utilize the bobby pin to mark the beginning of the row so I know how many stitches to put in each row I create. In the next three pictures, the object has gotten bigger. In the last picture, I have not added any single crochets to the row, causing it to bow into shape. After I have done 7 rows of the same number of crochets on the rows, I place the safety eyes between the 11th and 12th row approximately 6 stitches apart. Then I begin to decrease the stitches by crocheting 2 of the stitches from the previous row. It is very important to keep the tension consistent throughout the project because you do not want any gaps. Now is the time to stuff the head of the lion, because I'm going to have to continue crocheting below the head to form the body. I use twice as much fiber fill as what's in the picture shows. The second picture shows the head is almost filled with the other fiber fill, and the third picture shows the head complete in time to move on to finishing up the rest of the body. The top right picture shows the body halfway done, moving on to the next picture with the body almost done. Now it's time to stuff and crochet simultaneously. As you can see, I have finished stuffing and crocheting, and I have closed the bottom end of the plushie. This is the only piece that will not have a long tail for sewing. I start again with the magic ring in brown to create the cap that will go on the lion's head, and left a long tail to be able to sew it on. As you can see in the background on the first picture, I utilize a pen in order to make hash marks to help me in remembering what row I am on during the crochet process. These pictures are the process of making the nose of the lion. First I crochet the nose piece, and then I take some black cotton yarn and embroider, which is creating a pattern in order to get a desired effect. The nose part, as you can see in the second picture, I have already finished making 6 rows above 2 columns to get the effect of the nose. The legs are started with another magic ring, then doubling the next row by adding 2 single crochets in the previous row's single crochet. The third row is crocheted 1/3 larger than the previous row. The next 2 rows are not increased, making them 4 total rows of 18 single crochets. The next row I decrease the stitches and then crochet 5 more rows. I leave a long tail for sewing and stuff and shape them. Another magic ring of 6 single crochets is started to create the arms, and doubling this row of single crochets, I get the bottom of the arms. Then I crochet same number of stitches for 2 rows. Then I decrease my stitches down to 9 single crochets and crochet 6 more rows. Finishing the arms, I leave a long tail and stuff. The ears begin with another magic ring of 6, then doubling the next row, making 12 single crochets. The third row is going to be 1/3 larger than the second row. I then crochet 2 more rows, and I decrease the stitches back down to 12 crochets, and crochet a final row of 12. After making the 2 ears, I do not stuff them. Instead, I fold them together and sew the open end shut. The tail was probably the easiest thing to do because all I did was crochet a chain of 10, meaning I pulled the yarn through itself 10 times to make a chain. Then I crocheted another row of stitches, leaving a long tail to attach to the body. I almost forgot to add a couple of brown pieces to the yarn at the end of the tail. You will see this at the end of the tutorial. Now I have all the pieces made for the lion. I begin to assemble them together by using a technique called a whip stitch. This is just a fancy way of saying that I'm going to sew the pieces together. It does not truly matter what order you decide to attach the pieces in to the body, but the important thing is to get symmetry, because if not, they will look off balance. In these 3 pictures, I have already attached the arms and are working on the legs, sewing them to the body. Now you might be wondering what I do with the leftover string after I'm done attaching it. Well, considering it's the same color as the body, I can just hide it inside the body and it'll retract and never to be seen again. Here we have the legs and arms attached, and now I am working on the nose of the lion. I start by sewing all bottom half of the nose and then stuffing the nose to give it some form, and then finish sewing it at the top. The tricky part is not to get the nose to be sideways when you're done. but at this point we're far from done. Now I take the tail and attach it to the back of the lion as I have done here in the first picture. Now remember that brown cap I made? I have taken the cap and attached it to the top of the head. The reason why I made the cap was to pull out so I can put most of the mane on it without the stuffing being pulled out. In the last picture I have attached the ears. Now begins the tedious part of creating the mane. I take the fringe maker and the brown yarn. I wrap it around the bottom row of the device 20 to 30 times. I cut off all the strands on one side of my scissors, and then I hold the end and just cut the other side. Then, I spend a little time separating the strands so I can easily grab them one at a time. The latch hook comes in handy for putting the mane on. I insert the hook into the stitch in the brown cap, and if you look closer, you will see a metal piece that is sticking upwards. The metal piece rotates to create an easy exit so the hook does not get caught when pulling the loops of yarn back through. The next picture shows a lot of the mane done above the forehead. In this picture, it does not quite look like a lion yet. The part below the nose is not filled in. If you notice on the neck, there are holes that you cannot see stuffing. In most cases, I would have to start over with the body of the project. I will be covering it over with the brown yarn, so I do not need to worry. You just have to be extra careful as to not pull the stuffing out of the lion's neck when attaching the mane. And here is the completed project from front to back and sides. A lot of the work went into this project, approximately 10 to 15 hours of time it took to create this crocheted lion. All the pictures I took myself and the work to crochet it as well. I hope you enjoy this brief tutorial on how to make this adorable lion. Thank you.